Pokemon Legends ZA is set in the bustling city of... the moderately populated city of Lumiose, a thrilling tourist destination where you can buy clothes and battle Pokemon, and that's basically it. Which is insane if you think about it. So we're going to figure out how this political and economical system could possibly work. How? By doing a systematic review of their bureaucratic... Where are you going? Wait, don't leave. Please don't leave. We will do a tier list. How's that? Yep, that's right. We're doing lobotomy content today. Here's a tier list.
It's technically more of a spectrum of left-wing to right-wing economic policy, but the algorithm demands homogenization, so we're doing it in the form of a tier list. You're welcome.
For those of you unfamiliar with the left-right dichotomy, first of all, welcome to the internet and modern political discourse. I hope you enjoy your stay. You won't. But let's talk a little bit of history.
The concept of the left and right wings of politics comes from the French Revolution in 1789. Where the French Assembly was divided into the literal left wing and right wing of the National Assembly, with the Republican supporters of the revolution on the left and the monarchists on the right. And just to be clear, that's the word Republican in its original context, meaning an anti-monarchist supporter of a republic. So for those of you across the pond, whenever you hear me call myself a Republican nationalist, just know I mean it in like a woke way. Anyway, in a modern context, economically, when we say a policy is left wing, we mean that it's motivated by social justice and equality of access to resources. When we say a policy is right-wing, we typically mean that it prioritizes protecting and supporting profit-based production and private property. Of course, both sides believe their system is the ideal way to run an economy, each with their own pros and cons. So we're going to talk about... What? This is a Pokemon video, right?
Okay, so here on my unrotoscoped Mac, I have a list of explicit features of the Lumiose political system, as well as some implicit features we can extrapolate and derive from gameplay.
We're going to go through them all one at a time and graph them on our tier list, and by the end of the video, we should be able to figure out Lumiose City's political ideology and generally just what its deal is. This video will not contain any spoilers for the game beyond the tutorial section, by the way, which, in case you didn't know, is like 2 hours long for some reason, so we'll have plenty to sink our teeth into.
To start with, let's talk Pokemon centers.
Obviously, free healthcare is a left-wing policy, even if it only extends to the Pokemon and not the people for whatever reason, but it goes further than that. The Pokemon centers are clearly publicly owned institutions. We know that they're well funded enough to update their technology every few years. We know that the Pokemon-related items they sell maintain the same price throughout the years, implying they're subsidized against inflation, and we can assume that the employees have decent wages and benefits, because otherwise I cannot imagine having this much of a can-do attitude with jobs this tedious. Thank you, ball guy, you are my hero. Please keep picking up my several hundred balls at a time, my aim is very bad. Keeping all this in mind, this starts to paint a fairly left-wing socialist utopia vibe of our setting.
This is further reinforced by our second point, the fact that no one really seems to need a job unless you really want one.
Like, we're not even employed by the Hotel Z, technically. We're just staying there. Same with Tawny. Like, dining out and buying fashionable clothes can be expensive enough, but it seems fairly easily affordable on the budget of an unemployed casual Pokemon battler.
To put this into perspective, just imagine that you could finance your entire 20s just by being a traveling rock, paper, scissors player. Not even the best one, just a middling player.
Now, granted, in this imaginary setting, rock, paper, scissors seems to unaccountably dominate culture, education, and economic policy, but still, if you have a passable amount of skill, you do not need a job. Clearly, there is some governmental intervention on some level to keep the cost of living low enough that this kind of lifestyle is possible. Again, this is firmly left-wing, and yes, technically, all of what we mentioned so far is true for basically all Pokemon games, but it's still important to bring it up.
Another thing that's important to mention is that the Legends ZA tutorial takes like 2 hours. I know I said this already, but I would really just like to fit it somewhere on the tier list. I'm not sure if it's a left-right thing, but we'll come back to this.
Okay, I really need to sit down for a second and take all this in. And speaking of sitting, how's your back? Do you feel good? Do you feel young? No? Well, good news, this video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. FlexiSpot makes high-quality standing desks and ergonomic office chairs, and they send me out their E7 Pro desk and C7 chair to try out. I really want to stress just how high the quality is here. For one, the chair is super comfortable. It has adjustable arms, an adjustable headrest, and a big, solid lumbar support that is, you guessed it, also adjustable. Seriously, this thing has so many options, like look at all these levers. I love a good lever. Moving on to the standing desk, my favorite part is the fact that it's electric, because I do not have time to be cranking my own standing desk. The desktop itself is very sturdy, no cardboard, just solid wood all the way through, and the frame moves super smoothly with absolutely no issue and super low noise, even when I'm literally sitting on top of it. Like, I know this bit is rotoscoped, but I really am on top of it there. I don't know if you're supposed to be doing this, but it has a max weight of 160 kilos, so it's probably fine. I've never had a standing desk before, but I can safely say that now I'm a big fan, and I can already feel the difference now that I can work for several hours at a time without having to stay in the exact same position the entire time. Anyway, to sum up my review in a few words, this desk and chair have replaced my previous setup entirely, my old desk is in the bin, and if anyone wants to buy an office chair, please let me know. Anyway, FlexiSpot is currently running their Black Friday sale with up to 80% off on select products, and there's also a chance to get 100% free orders. They have a wide range of desks and ergonomic chairs to suit your needs and budget, and don't forget to use my code YTE730 at checkout for 30% off. You can also leave a note at the checkout just saying King the Look so they know who sent you. That would really help out the channel. Thank you again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring the video, and let's get back into it. One of the main plot points of Legends EA is the fact that wild Pokemon have been showing up more and more within Lumiose City. Before the start of the game, the city, specifically the mayor, tasks the private company Quasartico Inc. with resolving the issue with an urban redevelopment plan to convert areas of the city into wild zones. First of all, outsourcing this kind of work to the private sector is very much part of the right-wing playbook. Contrasted against the Pokemon centers, it's actually kind of funny that Lumiose has these privatized contracts at the same time as these big nationalized initiatives. This is kind of starting to muddy our idea of what Lumiose actually maybe believes in, but it's probably just a small blip in an otherwise completely cohesive ideology, right? Anyway, now we have to talk about their actual execution of this urban redevelopment plan.
Bizarrely, Quasartico Inc. seems to have free reign on the deployment of these wild zones. They don't have to consult scientists or the public, seemingly, before converting entire metropolitan zones into rewilding projects.
Keep in mind, these zones can be public parks, the street, graveyards, housing areas, private businesses.
There really is seemingly like no oversight happening, and granting this kind of power isn't even a left-right partisan issue. I mean, it's really even hard to fit this neatly onto our tier list. We can't fit this onto the tier list. I guess we could use the political compass instead?
Okay, say hello to the political compass. It's not really a tier list, but no, please don't leave. Please don't leave. It's just like a tier list, I swear. It just has two axes. It's like we have double the tier list, right? As you can now see, we have a new axis, authoritarian to libertarian. Basically, how much control the government is willing to exert upon its citizens, from all of it to none of it. The political compass was invented in 2001 by this guy, and it's a completely flawless system that definitely does not trivialize any belief systems. If we now take our previous points and graph them on our new list, I'm sure we'll get a super clear ideology I think that made it worse. Okay, let's just keep going. Hello, really quick, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. Recently, YouTube has added a new feature called Hype that lets you as a viewer give videos more reach. So it'd help me out a huge amount if you subscribed, then on mobile, scroll to the right beside the like-dislike button and hyped the video. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so helping the reach of this video would be a massive help. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the video. Anyway, now we can accurately map the fact that Lumiose City, through Quasartico Inc., has the capacity to completely rewild entire areas of City Block. The with seemingly little to no oversight or input from the public.
This seems fairly authoritarian to me. Something else that's also very authoritarian is making someone spend 2 hours on a tutorial that they already know how.
The other main story beat in the game also focuses around Quizartico Inc. At nighttime, battle zones are erected throughout the city for participants of the ZA Royale to battle in. Without spoiling exactly why the ZA Royale was started, it's functionally a part of the urban redevelopment plan. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking I would hold a similar opinion about these battle zones as I do about the wild zones, seeing as they're also put up in residential and shopping districts, but honestly, they're really not that big a deal. It's seemingly completely legal to battle anyone, more or less anywhere you want, throughout the entire Pokemon world, and nobody really seems to ever mind, so these zones don't really encroach on anyone's personal freedoms. The battles were probably going to happen anyway. In fact, participating means Quizartico will literally pay you for your performance, which I don't think they had to do. It's probably the government's money, but still. Does this make it left-wing? And maybe a little libertarian? Is this hard to quantify on a graphing system with little to no nuance? Is this maybe still not really helping us establish Lumiose City's political identity at all? Yes to all of the above, I think. Another policy that we can now accurately graph with our definitely fantastic, perfect system is this. The bench. Do you see how it has arm rails segmenting it, forcing you to sit upright? This might seem fairly innocuous at first, but this is a prime example of anti-homeless architecture, a thing that exists in the real world, where efforts have been made to prevent a space from being used by homeless people looking for somewhere to sleep. And look, I'm not saying that having homeless people is inherently a feature of a specific type of government, but you have to admit telling them where to lie down is inherently authoritarian. So, looking at our graph so far, I don't think we're really getting anywhere here with this. Okay, I think it's time to come clean. This video is inherently flawed. There's just no way to accurately map real-world ideologies onto a fictional setting's arbitrary game mechanics using a 2D political compass. That's right, we need another axis. This will fix all of our problems for sure, for definite. Everybody say hi to the 3D political compass. Now we have an axis for social liberalism and conservatism, which is, it's definitely helping, and if you can't follow this right now, that's not my fault. Next up, Team Flare Operation Paperclip. Yeah, they did actually reintegrate a bunch of fascists back into society for personal gain, so authoritarian conservative, I think? These are getting kind of abstract. Okay, next point, a globalized currency and language. That doesn't, we don't really have an axis for that right now, but I suppose we could. Okay, last new axis, I promise. We have run out of dimensions in Euclidean space, so to fit our nationalist to globalist axis, we're gonna need to use a 4D tesseract political compass. As anyone with half a brain can now see, there are two distinct, juxtaposed schools of thought operating Lumiose City's economy. Obviously, one is a set of globalist, autocratic, left-wing policies that mostly prioritize making being a Pokemon trainer really easy, like item price control, globalized currency and language, and publicly owned services common to every country in the world. And the other is an eco-capitalist, laissez-faire corporatocracy that prioritizes giving the big bucks to the private sector. Clearly, this can only imply one thing. The entire Pokemon world is run by a world government who controls the currency, the language, and all of the hospitals, but only the ones for the Pokemon, of course. Ostensibly, its only real motivation is making sure that Pokemon battles are really popular via socialism. That's it, I think. Lumiose City, on the other hand, is an autonomous political territory within the Poke-Socialist utopia that has more conservative economic policy, but because none of these policies discourage Pokemon battles, they are allowed to operate without issue. And that's Lumiose City's political ideology and general deal, I guess. thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. A massive thank you again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. So make sure to head over to their website and check out their Black Friday sales and use the code YTE730 at checkout for 30% off. As always, a massive thank you to my supporters on Patreon, especially Chaos Lord Drago, at least 8,700,000 ants, Zed the Man, Sean Colgan, and Hi, when are we getting Luck versus the card market team in Canlander, signed the single Magic the Gathering fan in your audience, as well as Sandog52, at Cardillo, a Magic user, a real world scientist, Squarka, Sparkfire, Peter Clare Lomax, Where is Spacebar, Frostfuchs, and Marshall Hewson, as well as everyone else you see here. Thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next video.